Welcome and good evening to everyone. Welcome to the May 12th Board of Education meeting for the Papillion-La Vista Community Schools. Could we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Butler?
Here.
Mr. Madler?
Here.
Ms. Witt?
Here.
Mr. Lotus?
Here.
Ms. Wood?
Here.
And I'll make a motion to excuse the absence of Mr. Bailey.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Madler, second by Ms. Butler. Roll call.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Madler?
Yes.
Ms. Butler?
Yes. So before we begin, I'd like to first say that our open meeting act is posted at the front of the door and that you hear a new voice tonight doing our roll call. That is Stephanie Scheller. She will be replacing Miss Kathy Barranco at the end of the month for our next meeting. This is her maiden voyage as our new recording clerk. Welcome, Stephanie. Communications, our first thing is recognitions. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Ms. Witt, members of the board. First of all, for all of our audience members who are with us live this evening, thank you for being here and engaging with your school district and Board of Education. For those that may be watching online, thank you for joining us. We know everyone's lives are very busy and hectic, so thank you for engaging however you choose to engage with us. Tonight we have a slug of recognitions. And this is one of the most favorite things that we do every single board meeting is we like to single out staff members and students who have really done something above and beyond the call of duty and brought honor or distinction to their building, their program, or the school district. And we have a number of such categories. So because we have a whole bunch of different categories and individuals, here's how we'll kind of play this. We'll go through each of the three categories. We'll pause after each three. You'll be recognized by your Board of Education. I'll come around with the plaques, with the certificates. If we have moms and dads that would like to come up and take pictures before we move on to the next category, that would be just fine, and we'll do that for all three different categories. Does that sound fair, Ms. Witt? Okay, with that, we will start with our very first category, which is State Journalism Champions. We will start with Monarch first. We have Dominic Mangano, an 11th grader, working under the expert tutelage of our own Joe Rahacek, the voice of the Monarchs, and also state champion, outstanding, Dominic, and from Papillion-La Vista South, we have McKenna Hickson, who's an 11th grader, Adriana Ramirez, who is a 12th grader, again, state champions. 3 state champions from the same school district. That is absolutely unheard of. We have an outstanding writing program. We have an outstanding journalism program. 3 shining examples of what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. Dominic, McKenna, Adriana, please come down and be recognized by your Board of Education. Do we want to do one at a time, or do we want to do everybody at once? One at a time. Outstanding. Dominic, we'll kind of center ourselves. Outstanding. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Dominic, congratulations. Well done. We're so proud of you. Outstanding. McKenna and Dominic, congratulations. We're so proud of you. And thank you for being here and representing the Titan Nation. On to the next category, State Skills USA Champions. We have a number of individuals here. Did I see Roger come in? Roger's right front and center. Thanks for being here, Roger. We have a number of champions that are toiling under your expert tutelage, so well done, Mr. Campbell. We have a number of champions as well as an elected officer, so more on that in a little bit. The number of champions that we have from Papillion La Vista South High School, we have Rebecca Brooks, 11th grade, Luke Dolphins, 9th grade, Nolan Casabom, 12th grade, James Strawn, who won the college division through MCC, 12th grader, Allison Watts, 10th grader, and then an elected national officer. Again, to have a national officer elected from our school district, that doesn't happen very often. We're incredibly proud of Brock. Brock Davis, who is elected the national office treasurer. He is a 12th grader from Papillion La Vista South. Ladies and gentlemen from South, please come down and be recognized by your Board of Education. We need you in here. Everybody front and center. Outstanding.
You guys are present. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Step out of the way from mom and dad.
Coach, and your charges, thanks for being here. Really appreciate all you do to make Skills USA such a special program for our students. And finally, last but by no means least, we have an academic category here. National Merit Scholar finalists. I don't have these numbers at my fingertips, but I believe the last time I looked up these data, less than 3% of all test takers across the United States receive national merit designation, and it might even be less than 1%, but I don't want to overpromise. But it is an incredibly select group of students based on their test scores. It is an incredibly high standard. To have 2 from one of our high schools is absolutely amazing. Eleanor, Nicholas, please come down and be recognized by your Board of Education. Outstanding work. Nicholas, remind us, what are your college plans in the fall? Outstanding. Good luck. Outstanding university. We're so proud of you. And thanks again for coming tonight. Really proud of your accomplishments. And I believe that is it for our recognitions under recognitions, but I do believe we have student council coming up, Ms. Witt.
Yes, we would like to thank our student council members who have come and presented their reports to us monthly and tell us everything that's happening at their schools, the different academic, the different fine arts, the different sporting events, and the events that they're holding at their schools themselves. We really appreciated and enjoyed having you here, and we would like you to come up and be recognized. Do you have some?
Yes, I do, Ms. Witt, so it'll be the same drill as before. We've got Nova and Maggie, Mackenzie and Abby. Please come down and be recognized by your Board of Education. Outstanding work this year, ladies.
We also have some little
district swag.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. Very good.
Ladies, you've done an outstanding job providing comprehensive reports all year. We're going to miss you more than you probably realize, and hope you have a great summer. Good luck with finals. And with that, Ms. Witt, I would conclude our recognitions as well as our student council thank yous.
Thank you very much. Our next item on the agenda is reports. Dr. Rickley.
I'm probably talking too much here, but thank you very much, boss. First off, I'd like to wish all of our mothers a belated Mother's Day. We had 3 of our board members, all 6 board members were at graduation yesterday, of course. 5 of our 6, thank you. Colonel Bailey was actually at a national competition with his flight students. So we had 5 of our 6 board members. 3 of those 5 are mothers, so Lisa, Sue Ann, Eliza, happy Mother's Day. I know that there's no place you'd rather spend your Mother's Day holiday than at Baxter Arena, saying goodbye to 1,000 of our closest friends, but thank you for your service. It was a wonderful day. Also wanted to offer our congratulations to the approximate 950 combined Monarch and Titan graduates. It was a wonderful event. Mr. Spilker, Mr. Ryan, you run an outstanding ceremony. Each one was about 90 minutes. Our kids are classy. Our parents are grateful. The weather was terrific. It was just a great celebration of all that makes this community and this school district such a special place. It was a great capstone to a whirlwind week. We had all kinds of celebrations. We had honors nights. We had academy send-offs for both the health systems as well as zoo. Several DARE graduations. We had Midlands Place Scholarship. I know I'm leaving some things out, but just a wonderful week. And to quote former board member Val Fisher, those events and that week leading up to graduation are kind of the payoff. Board members, as we're all well aware, do not get paid. One of the few elected officials in the state of ours that do not receive any type of compensation. But being able to celebrate with our families and our kids and our staff is a pretty special thing. So thank you, everybody involved, and again, congratulations to our graduates and happy Mother's Day to our moms. A couple of awards that I wanted to bring to the board's attention. Jeff Spilker, our principal at Papillion La Vista South High School, was recently named the Region 2 Secondary Principal of the Year. He will advance to the state level competition for the state Principal of the Year. So congratulations to Jeff, an outstanding leader. We've been so blessed by his leadership, and it was on full display yesterday during commencement as he was glad handing a lot of our students. Also wanted to recognize Dr. Deb Anderson, who received the Nebraska State Mental Health Champion Award. It hasn't been formally bestowed upon her yet, but since Dr. Anderson is retiring in the next several weeks, I wanted to make sure that the board and the community heard that before Dr. Anderson retires. Just a world-class individual. She has moved the needle in so many ways for this school district in providing support to our students and our staff and our community. In a much-needed area of mental health support. So Jeff and Dr. Anderson, congratulations. We do still have a couple of upcoming events before the week is out. We still have, I believe, 3 DARE graduations for our elementary school students, our 6th graders. We also have the Ideal School graduation. It is at Titan this Thursday at 6 o'clock. So if we have board members that are interested in saying goodbye to our Ideal School grads, this Thursday, 6 o'clock at Papillion La Vista South. Of course, our last day is Friday, May 23rd. But before we wrap up the superintendent's report, there's 2 other personnel things I would like to announce. First off, our brand newest principal, though she's not really a new principal, Elementary 17, we'll be talking about the new boundaries here in just a little bit. But after going through a rather rigorous vetting process, our own Monica Thompson at Hickory Hill was selected to be the new principal at ES 17, and she has joined us this evening. Monica, thank you for your outstanding leadership. We can't wait to see the work that you do opening a new building. And last but by, yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And last but by no means least, while we welcome Ms. Scheller with open arms, and we can't wait to see the outstanding things she does, keeping me out of trouble and keeping the board meetings running expertly, as I know she will, this is the last official meeting of our own Kathy Baranko, and she yells at me when I make her cry, so I'm not going to get all sappy just yet. But 12 years with me alone, ladies and gentlemen. She's spent several other years in the special education office, and she's been a friend, she's been a partner, she has been a confidant, and a whole bunch else. So, Kathy, thanks for 12 really great years. And with that, I would conclude my superintendent comments.
Thank you. Board member reports?
I actually have something to report tonight. So yay. I had a liaison luncheon at Prairie Queen. There was a very long list of items that they discussed, of accomplishments and things that they're working on. And then, as the rest of you, yesterday I was at the graduation. So congrats to all the graduates and their families.
Yeah, so it's been a busy couple of weeks with a lot of items, and obviously spring sports are in towards the end of their seasons already, which is amazing. But huge congrats to something that hadn't been done in many years, which is both the men's and women's track and field teams from Papillion La Vista South both won the conference titles. They were the first school in many, many years to win on both sides. So that's pretty amazing. Monarch girls lost in a heartbreaker in a shootout this afternoon at the state soccer tournament. So congratulations to a very successful season to the Monarch girls team. Played their hearts out today, and unfortunately, when you come up against the number one team in the state, you took them to shootout, and you never know what's going to happen in a shootout. So, and then good luck to Titan boys team tomorrow at state. They have a similar situation, playing the number one team in Creighton Prep. So I know track and field districts are this week, and is it district baseball? State on Friday. Both Monarch and Titans made it. So pretty successful spring so far, with lots still to come, with track and field wrapping up here later on. And then one other item was I attended my son's sixth grade DARE graduation today at Walnut Creek. So a huge thanks to all the DARE officers that give their time to come in and teach great lessons to all of our students across the district. It's been a program. They had the shirts on, and I forgot what year it was established, but they provided that on the shirts, so it was great. So since 1983, obviously the DARE program has been around and utilized within this district. I'm a proud DARE graduate myself. I had former police chief Lawston as my DARE officer at G. Stanley Hall way back when, so it's been great to have a relationship with him for that many years. So such a great program. It was fun to see how excited the kids were. A lot of the schools don't do sixth grade graduation because they're not graduate, they're just moving on. And so this is kind of a fun little, the DARE graduation is kind of their fun little afternoon. So thanks again to all the officers and obviously the police departments themselves and the leadership in continuing to support that program.
I had the privilege to attend some of the festivities over the last month, which have been a great honor to be a part of, and see how proud and how joyous of a time this is. At the two honors nights at both South and Monarch, it was amazing to see $32 million of scholarship awarded to our students, and what a huge accomplishment for kids and families. Also had the opportunity to attend the Health Academy graduation, Project Search graduation, and of course that culminated yesterday with both ceremonies being wonderful at Baxter. I did have the opportunity to attend Ashbury's Purple Star ceremony, and that was the only Purple Star ceremony I was able to attend, but it was Colonel Kalisiak did such a great job in speaking with the students, and not only recognizing the military families, but honoring all students and teachers for creating a welcoming environment and just just letting everyone know what a difference it makes for kids that are moving several times throughout their educational career. So that was also a great celebration.
I collected all of the little brochures they give you when you walk into those. So the first thing I attended was the Education Academy on April 30th. There were 17 Academy grads, is that right? From both Papillion South and Papillion High School. And like we always do, we invite those who continue through the education program to become teachers to come back and work with the district. It was fabulous. I'm sorry I couldn't get to the signings, but the Project Best cooperation, it was the retirement of the Lois Erickson, who runs the program right now, and there were over 200, we have over 260 partners that she has cultivated throughout her career, and it was amazing. It was a really great event. 30 years of partnership with the entire community and even beyond, I believe. Honors night at Papillion High School and honors night at Titans. Like Ms. Wood said, there were, what was it, about 230 winners, over that, I'm sure, and over $30 million in scholarships, which is just a testament to the amount of work our students do to earn their awards and the great job our teachers do with our kids. Health academies, they usually do two programs. There's the morning group and the afternoon group, and they are both part of the biomedical and patient care fields. Just an amazing group of people. We did learn, I even brought an example. Even if you have fairy-like fingers, your hands will not fit in a small exam glove.
They were emphatic, nobody fits in.
Right. One of my favorite events is always the Project Search and the YTP event. The children, or the kids, they're young adults, they're not kids, who go through those programs, build such confidence, and their skill level is amazing. It's just one of the most heartwarming and rewarding things that I ever go to is the YATP and Project Search graduation ceremonies. And then, of course, the Titan and the Monarch graduation ceremonies on Sunday. I think there were about over 900 graduates across the stage. Just so proud of them all. I think every girl in this school has long hair. There are very few have short hair. It's amazing. But one more thing to do, and that is the ideal commencement. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm able to go because I'm retired, and Ms. Wood can go a lot because she's retired as well, and I know it's hard for other board members to go, but when you get a chance, you should attend as many of these as you can because it's something to be proud of. Okay, with no other reports, we'll go on to committee reports, buildings, grounds, and finance.
We have not met since the last meeting, but we are meeting on the last day of school.
Thank you. Human Resources, Student Services.
Yeah. So the HR and Student Services met on May 5th. We discussed some staffing issues. The 4,000 policies were discussed, and you'll receive more information about that this evening. And then they're preparing to begin negotiations with maintenance and custodial staff.
Thank you. And finally, Curriculum and Americanism.
And the CIA and American Civics Subcommittee met on May 8th. We had a boundary update, which again, we'll be discussing in more detail this evening. We also discussed the early childhood program review, which has been finalized, and some of the steps that are being taken as they move forward with that. There are some curriculum decisions and choices that are being made by our toolbox teams, and strategic planning is moving forward. Several groups have been met with, and that will continue throughout the summer. And then the 6,000s will be coming up in a couple months that we will review at that time.
Thank you. Moving on to action items, starting with the action by consent.
I'll make a motion to approve the items listed under action by consent.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mr. Madler and a second by Ms. Wood. Roll call?
Ms. Witt,
Yes.
Mr. Lotus,
Yes.
Ms. Wood,
Yes.
Ms. Butler,
Yes.
Mr. Madler.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carried.
I see this is not on the agenda.
It's on the
Oh, okay.
action by consent.
Okay. So it doesn't go It's already been approved.
We've done it on its own before, but we decided to put it because I don't think the price, did it go in?
We have I didn't, it's on the action by consent, but it's the ESU 20 driver's education
Yeah.
contract. Does anybody wish to speak to that? It was approved through the action by consent. Okay.
As a matter of As a matter of practice, we do this annually. Sometimes the price stays the same, sometimes it goes up, but as a matter of practice, very few of our students access ESU 3's driver's ed school. It's a high-quality school from what I understand, but most of our students that elect to do driver's ed do through private providers.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda, administrative salaries for the 2025-26 school year, presented by Human Resources. Dr. Settles.
Yes, thank you very much. We have not had any changes since this was proposed to you at the previous meeting. So reminder that what has been proposed is to increase the base $1,690, which would move the base from $72,600 to $74,290. We would also allow for vertical and horizontal movement. That for the certified administrators is an average package increase of 4.035%. Assistant superintendent's recommended package would be 3.80%. And I also just again wanted to thank subcommittee for the work that they did on this and making these recommendations.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the administrative salary and benefits as presented for the 2025-2026 years, including a certified administrator base salary of $74,290 and an average package increase of 4.035% for certified administrators and the 3.80% increase for the assistant superintendents.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Lotus, a second by Mr. Madler. Any discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Lotus,
Yes.
Ms. Wood,
Yes.
Ms. Butler,
Yes.
Mr. Madler,
Yes.
Ms. Witt,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, the superintendent's contract for the 2025-26 school year. Dr. Settles.
Yep, thank you very much. Again, on this one, no major changes since we last spoke. The only change is on the Transparency Act. You'll notice the asterisks were added or moved around. The one that was added was the district share of retirement. And we made that asterisk just to note that that is the contribution at the time of this contract approval. We will follow all current guidelines at any given time from the state. And since the legislature did just make a change in the MPERS, one of the things that you'll notice is this is the very max that we would be at because we're currently at max contribution, but we'll follow whatever the guidelines are at the time. Right now, we have not gotten our new guidelines from MPERS, but we do expect that the contributions will go down. So you will actually see the total package will end up less than what you are approving. So what you're looking at today is the maximum that it could be.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the 3-year superintendent's contract with Dr. Andrew Rickley at a salary of $273,947.31 for the 2025-2026 school year.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Lotus, a second by Ms. Wood. Any discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Wood,
Yes.
Ms. Butler,
Yes.
Mr. Madler,
Yes.
Ms. Witt,
Yes.
Mr. Lotus,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. Next item is the issuance of the general obligation bond not to exceed $55 million as approved by the 2023 bond election. Mr. Richards.
Thank you, Ms. Witt. I'll ask Mr. Cody Wickham of D.A. Davidson to come forward in case there are any questions from the board regarding the resolution. And I know Paul Grieger was at the last meeting and answered some questions there,
Not
but
enough.
Cody's available tonight as well. So I'll turn it over to you, Cody, kind of give us a recap.
Thank you. Thank you, Brett. Yeah, as Brett mentioned, you heard from my partner, Paul Grieger, at your last meeting about kind of the financing plan. Tonight is just the formality of actually bringing the resolution in front of you all for your consideration. As mentioned, it authorizes $55 million of general obligation bonds. I thought I'd give you a brief market update. Oftentimes when we have these parameters resolutions, you might not be selling bonds for a week or two down the line, but we actually have everything teed up, ready to go. We're going to go with our preliminary pricing tomorrow and then hold our order period on Wednesday. So since we've kind of taken care of all the behind the scenes things, the ratings calls and all the documentation, we're ready to go and we're planning on hitting the market tomorrow. The Fed met last week, and we had 3 consecutive meetings now with stable interest rates, so we're confident in the marketability of these. We do have a pretty good pricing comp, which I wanted to share with you. It was our competitors priced some bonds for the city of North Platte just last week. Now, they have a rating that's not quite as high as you all, but what they did was they purchased bond insurance through Assured Guaranteed, which gives them a AA S&P rating. That's the equivalent of your all's Moody's rating, which is a AA2. So very good pricing comp in the market. On the maturities that are comparable to you all, we're going out with this. Now, again, rates can change in the next 48 hours or so, but we're going out anywhere from 38 basis points to 46 basis points tighter. And to give you an idea of what that means in real dollars, for every 10 basis points, it's $914,000 of interest expense. Now, I will say that the city of North Platte, because they're a city of first class, they're only allowed to have a 5-year call. You guys have a 10-year call. The difference there typically in the market is about 10 basis points. So give it anywhere between 28 and 36. If you multiply that out, it's around $2.7 million of interest expense if we can execute at these levels. So we're going out really, really strong and aggressive, and if we're able to deliver, which I'm confident we are, I'll report back to this group and let you know how we did. But we also priced bonds for Elkhorn schools last week on these same levels. We're actually going out with your bonds a little tighter than Elkhorn's, anywhere from 1 to 7 basis points tighter. So we're going to start out really aggressive, and hopefully we can deliver for you all.
Cody, the market today had some volatility. Did that play into these bonds at all?
No, I actually got the update from my trader after the market closed.
Okay.
So that was after the MMD shifts for today, and the tax-exempt bonds didn't feel as much of the movement as the rest of the market. So we're looking good.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Now there is the consumer price index comes out tomorrow. That could have a shift in some things. So again, what I know is this is what we're trying out for tomorrow, and we'll see where we land on Wednesday around noon.
I will make the motion to approve the attached resolution for an amount not to exceed $55 million of general obligation school building bonds to continue the current construction schedule for the 2023 bond projects as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Madler and a second by Mr. Lotus. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Butler?
Yes.
Mr. Madler?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. All right. Thank you all.
I'm
Hopefully I'll have
curious.
some good news for you in 2 days.
So Cody, what does it look like in your office when you're going out for bond? Are you like on the trading floor calling and?
Well, I wish I could say it was that hectic,
Yeah.
but no, everybody's pretty calm. Our traders are talking to our sales guys. They're making calls to their various banks and institutions. But no, it's not like you see in the movies where everybody's scrambling with tickets in the air and such.
Pretty calm, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next item is under discussion. It is the new elementary boundaries. Who's going to lead that?
Dr. V.
Dr. V.
Good evening, Board of Education. Matt promised me that the clicker is in this drawer, and he didn't lie. It's right here. Oh, and it works. Good job, Matt. Shout out. So today I'm here to talk about our elementary 17 boundary process. It's been a process we started formally started back in October. So I'm going to talk you through what the process looked like. Then I'm going to talk you through the initial concept that we saw, followed by the 2 concepts that we considered and took to our community. Then I'll share with you the feedback that we got from our community as well as our administrative recommendation for the boundaries for elementary 17. So to start off, the process that we went through, like I said, we started this back in October in a formal way where we had discussions in superintendent's cabinet to establish parameters and a timeline for our boundary establishment process. The criteria that we came up with in that conversation aligned with the criteria that we've used for past boundary conversations, where we wanted to focus on a neighborhood schools concept, where our schools are serving the communities that they're in. We wanted to consider geography, so what land features are around the school that might impact those boundaries. Traffic considerations, so how do the roads look around there? What does access to the school look like, as well as traffic patterns during drop-off and pickup? And then what would the feeder schools look like going from elementary ultimately to high school, and how would changing the boundaries impact that? So those are the initial criteria that we came up with and started the conversation around. Then in November, we decided to contract with RSP and Associates out of Kansas City to conduct both an enrollment analysis and a boundary analysis. RSP uses a customized student forecast model to do projections for future student enrollment in a 5 or 10 year time frame. So for us, they looked at the next 5 years and what our district is going to see with regard to growth there. And then using that enrollment analysis, they were able to give us these different concepts that you'll see for the boundaries. And initially they asked us, what would you like us to consider when we're drawing these boundaries? And so we had 3 key considerations that we provided to them early on in the process. The first was that if you asked anybody in the community what the dividing line was going to be between Prairie Queen and Elementary 17, they would very confidently tell you that it was going to be 114th Street. So to try and make it easy on ourselves, we said we'd love to see what that would look like. What would it look like to divide that Prairie Queen's boundary down 114th Street? If we had to go outside of Prairie Queen's boundary, we asked that we not cross Highway 370 for an elementary school for the safety of our students in that area. And then we also asked them to give us some data regarding potential grandfathering options for students who may be able to stay at Prairie Queen Elementary. With all of that, we ended up going back and forth with RSP several times over several meetings to develop some boundary options. After we finished those up in February, we met with our internal boundary committee to review the proposals from RSP and Associates. In March, we met with our board subcommittees to review those proposals and collect feedback. And then in April, we established an external boundary committee to review and evaluate those boundary proposals. And that external boundary committee was made up of the internal boundary committee and then family representatives from all of the impacted subdivisions in the Prairie Queen attendance area and business leaders from the surrounding area as well, and representatives from the city of Papillion and Sarpy County. Then, after we shared that information with them, collected some initial feedback, we hosted 3 community forums through the month of April to collect input and feedback from stakeholders to bring that information here to you all today. So, as I mentioned, we asked for an initial concept considering 114th as the dividing line, and they gave us what we asked for. So, in a map form, this is what it would look like to divide Prairie Queen's current attendance area down 114th Street. In this map, the yellow area is Prairie Queen's attendance boundary. The blue area is Elementary 17's attendance boundary. And based on enrollment projections, they were able to tell us what enrollments would be at those 2 schools when Elementary 17 opens in the 26-27 school year. And so from that, Prairie Queen would have 192 enrolled students in 26-27, and Elementary 17 would have 400. If you look at the projections out through the 29-30 school year, the imbalance between those schools doesn't really correct, and we're in a situation where Elementary 17 is particularly large and Prairie Queen Elementary is particularly small. So ultimately, we decided that this concept was not something that was going to work for our district and meet the needs that we had discussed in those earlier meetings. So we went back to RSP and asked them to come up with more ideas for us. And that's how we got to concept 1 and concept 2. So in concept 1, they took that dividing line down 114th Street, but once it got down to Lincoln Road, it follows Lincoln Road to the east to Whitmus Drive, and then Whitmus Drive south to Highway 370 to create those boundaries. And in this one, it has a dotted green line following Lincoln Road. That is our high school boundary line. So anybody in this attendance area that lives north of Lincoln Road is assigned to Papillion La Vista High School. Anybody in this attendance area that is south of Lincoln Road is assigned to Papillion La Vista South High School. And that'll come up again here in a minute. So our enrollment projections for Concept 1 in 26-27, when Elementary 17 opens, have Prairie Queen with 314 students enrolled and Elementary 17 with 277 students enrolled. Ultimately, over that 4-year course, Elementary 17 will exceed Prairie Queen Elementary in enrollment, but the numbers are far more balanced than what we saw in that initial concept. There are also 53 current 3rd and 4th graders that will be 5th and 6th graders in the 26-27 school year that could potentially, based on what the board decides, have the option to stay at Prairie Queen Elementary, which would have a swing of about then 50 students that would impact those enrollment numbers for the year. One of the things I mentioned at the beginning was considering how this would impact our feeder system. And this graphic gives you an image of how our schools currently split ultimately to Monarch and Titan. In this concept, if you look at the bottom there, it shows that Prairie Queen Elementary would be split 55% would go to Monarch, 45% would go to Titan. And New Elementary 17 would have 100% at Monarch and 0% at Titan, but that's a little bit misleading because that data is based on where students currently reside. And in this small area of the attendance boundary where Elementary 17 sits, south of Lincoln Road, is currently in development, and they're expected to add 502 units to that area there. It's called Granite Creek West and Granite Creek East. And those students in this concept would attend Papillion La Vista South High School, bringing that split for Elementary 17 closer to what we see for Prairie Queen Elementary. So in Concept 1, both Prairie Queen and Elementary 17 would be splitting between the two high schools. So then for Concept 2, to get a different option here, they took that line from 114th Street and moved it east down to Lincoln Road again, and then followed Lincoln Road west to 114th Street, and then south to Highway 370. Once again, that green dotted line is the boundary in this attendance area for the high schools. So essentially, looking at swapping the two subdivisions there off of 114th and Lincoln. And our enrollment projections here in 26-27, when Elementary 17 opens, would have 301 students enrolled at Prairie Queen and 291 students enrolled at Elementary 17, with that 5-year projection showing 337 at Prairie Queen and 321 at Elementary 17, so a fairly balanced enrollment between the two schools there. And in this concept, we see 79 students that are current 3rd and 4th graders who would potentially have the option to stay at Prairie Queen Elementary for their 5th and 6th grade school years, should the board decide to move in that direction with grandfathering. And then looking at the feeder system in this situation, we have Prairie Queen Elementary at 98% attending Monarch and 2% attending Titan. Elementary 17 showing 50% attending Monarch, 50% attending Titan. So in both of these cases, those numbers would shift just slightly. Prairie Queen would be almost exclusively attending Papillion La Vista High School. There are a couple of small, low-yield areas south of Lincoln Road around Werner Park that any school-age students there would ultimately attend Titan. And then for elementary 17, based on current reside, it would be 50-50. But as that area that I showed you in the last feeder system projection continues to develop, then those students would shift that balance a little bit. So it would be higher on the Titan side and lower on the Monarch side. But in this one, you would be closer to having one school feeding exclusively to one high school instead of being split like in the other concept. So for just a side-by-side look at the two concepts, there are the maps, so you can kind of see what I was talking about, where essentially we're looking at just flipping one subdivision for another in that area there on 114th and Lincoln Road. And then those enrollment projections are shown at the bottom of the screen. So once we collected all of this data and all of this information with RSP, we gathered some internal feedback, we gathered some external feedback, some feedback from the board. Then we took all of this and shared it with our community. We sent it out to the Prairie Queen community by email so that they had the opportunity to preview it. And then we hosted 3 in-person community forums. At those 3 in-person community forums, we had approximately 40 parents and guardians attend across the 3 events. We had 3 key questions that they answered during that time, and we recorded all of the answers to those questions. The first question was asking specifically about questions or concerns that they have about these 2 concepts. The second question was asking, which one do you like better and why? And the final question was saying, we know that people are going to be impacted no matter what we choose, so how can we better accommodate and support our families that are impacted by the change? So, to share with you the results of what we learned at those community forums, answering that first question, what questions or concerns do you have about this change? I broke those out into 3 categories, the first being practical considerations. Transportation safety was one that continued to come up. Primarily, I forgot to mention this earlier, but we learned during this process that 114th Street is going to be expanded to a 4-lane road. And regardless of which concept we choose, we're going to have students that are going to be crossing 114th Street, which causes a little bit of concern in safety for families. So wanting to know what we could do to help support transportation safety in that situation for whichever concept we chose to go with. Traffic patterns was another one, specifically looking at areas that are already congested around Liberty Middle School at drop-off and pickup time and how either of these concepts might affect those traffic patterns. The third one that we heard quite a bit was Kids Club and Childcare, availability about whether or not it's going to be offered, if it's going to be offered at the onset of the school or not. And Dr. Rickley had the opportunity to meet with Mr. Denker at the foundation, who has assured us that Kids Club will be available at the onset of the school, but we don't have a lot of information about what registration will look like, or if you're a current Kids Club client, what that might look like signing up for the new school. And then the last thing that we heard was employment impact. So we had people who had concerns about their personal employment outside of the school district, as well as people who are employed within the school district at Prairie Queen Elementary, wanting to know how either of these concepts might impact their employment status. Then the second category was family and community impact. One thing that we heard from pretty much everyone who had the opportunity to speak at the forums was that they are worried about those established connections that their kids have in their communities and in their schools, and breaking kids up as we split the boundary of Prairie Queen Elementary into 2 schools. What would that look like, and would connections between friends be lost in that situation? And another was the impact of this change on military families. So noteworthy, we had a member of the military there talking about how with their different orders, they're already facing frequent relocation, so it might pose a challenge for students of military families who are already facing frequent relocations to have to change schools based on which concept we choose in this process. And then family logistics of pickup and drop off. If we did decide to do grandfathering and siblings were not included in grandfathering, and one student, or in that family, they allow one student to choose to attend Prairie Queen while another of their student attends elementary 17, then that creates a logistical challenge for families as far as pickup and drop off goes. And then the final category was school organization. So people wanted to know more about the high school pathways and what that would look like, kind of looking at those feeder patterns, the feeder systems that I showed on those previous slides there. And then availability of clubs and activities. What clubs and activities will be available at the onset of the school, especially if it is opening at a smaller size than our typical elementary schools. So that's what we heard in response to that first question. The second question, where we asked, which concept do you think is best for us as a district? I would love to say there was a clear-cut winner, but it really was split. What's funny is in every situation where we had the internal boundary committee meet and we said, which one do you like better? It was split. When we had the external committee meet and we said, which one do you like better? It was split. And then at the community forums, when we said, which one do you like better? It was split. And a positive on that is in that split, most people said, well, my personal preference is concept X, but I could really live with either one. So that's a positive takeaway from this. These are the themes that came through in the reasoning for people's concept preferences. So for concept 1, we heard about families wanting to maintain existing friend groups, and concept 1 would allow them to do that. Some residents feel like established neighborhoods should remain at the established and existing schools, so particularly looking at Kingsbury Hills and Prairie Queen Elementary School. And then in concept 1, looking at traffic flow, there wouldn't be any traffic crossing Liberty Middle School to get to elementary 17, so it might alleviate some traffic concerns around Liberty Middle School. Then with concept 2, we heard that people like the cleaner high school feeder pattern, knowing that at Prairie Queen, their students will attend Prairie Queen, their students will attend Liberty, their students will attend Monarch, and they'll be with their friends that whole time unless they move homes, for the 98% of students that would live north of Lincoln Road in that area. Ultimately, the enrollment projections show better balance between both schools in concept 2. And one of the things that came up was with 114th Street being converted to a 4-lane road, Mr. Richards is going to work with our transportation provider to have busing available for the families that would live on the other side of 114th Street to help address some of those safety concerns. So those were their preferences. And then the last thing we asked them was, how can we help support families who are going to be impacted by this change? And these were the things that they asked for. So the first is grandfathering options. They would like the board to allow 5th and 6th graders to stay at their current school. The next was sibling consideration. So for those 5th and 6th graders, they would like to see an option for younger siblings to also stay at Prairie Queen Elementary School. Transportation support, which I just mentioned, providing bus service for students who would need to cross 114th Street, even though it's not outside of the 4-mile radius that we do for typical transportation. Traffic management, so looking at Lincoln Road and crossing Lincoln Road, is there a way that we could work with city and county officials to have proper traffic controls at those intersections for crosswalks? Before and after school care, making sure that that's available at the onset of the school. Military family consideration, so a request to allow grandfathering for military families at the school for all of their children. And then the last request was to just allow families to choose what they feel would work best for them. So with those additional requests coming in, I wanted to provide some data for the board to consider as well. So I had shared previously that the grandfathering numbers for 5th and 6th graders in Concept 1, we have 53 students who would potentially have the choice, and in Concept 2, we have 79 students who would potentially have the choice. I worked with RSP to also identify how many younger siblings of those 5th and 6th graders we would need to consider, and then how many students in military families we would need to consider. So for younger siblings in Concept 1, there are 30 additional students. In Concept 2, there are 46 additional students. And then for the students in military families, you see lots of little numbers on the screen there. So the big number is how many total military students are in attendance that would be in 4th grade or lower right now. And I broke that out so you would see how many would be considered in those other options as well. So in concept 1, that 13 includes 3 5th and 6th graders, 1 additional sibling, and then 9 other students. So 9 students who in that count are exclusively military families. And then for concept 2, we had 21 total students in military families with 11 5th and 6th graders, 6 siblings, and 4 exclusively military family students in that count. So I wanted you guys to have those numbers for consideration as well. And then our administrative recommendation, after taking all of the feedback, having lots of conversations both in cabinet and in board subcommittees, we would make 3 recommendations to the board. Recommendation 1 is to approve boundary concept number 2. Recommendation 2 is to approve grandfathering for 5th and 6th graders, which are our current 3rd and 4th graders. And recommendation 3 is to strongly consider grandfathering for active military families. And with that, I will take any questions from the board, and Mr. Richards and Dr. Rickley may help me answer them.
So this is the board's opportunity to discuss what we've just seen and reviewed, and have any recommendations or concerns that you want to voice at this time. We will vote on it probably, I'm guessing, the first meeting in July, maybe in June. Yeah. But this is the time for discussion to determine what our thoughts are.
I appreciate you sharing the slides and obviously coming to the Buildings Grounds Finance Committee meeting and sharing similar information when we last met. I did go to one of the community engagement sessions. I want to thank the parents in the community that did come out to that one and share their thoughts. It was 40, obviously wish you'd have more people coming and sharing, but still it was overall a good number. When I saw the 2 concepts and listening to all the information behind them, I favored option 2. I mean, some of the information that you shared there on the reason why, but to me, what was probably the strongest reason why I was going 2 was to limit the schools that split then further after it. I prefer for option 2 with Prairie Queen, by far the majority, right, 98%, then on that path to Monarchs, instead of that school also splitting along with Elementary 17. So that's why I was favoring option 2, and I'm still favoring option 2 and agree with the recommendation. The grandfathering, this is the first time that we're opening up a new school that I've been a part of. So I know that's been done in the past, and I'm open to approving the 5th and 6th grade. You know, I do have the concern, right, we're trying to relieve pressure on Prairie Queen and allowing 2 full grades to stay at their levels. Is that too much for that school? Like, do we need to help them and the staff and relieve more of the pressure at Prairie Queen if we keep those 5th and 6th grade classes, you know, at the same level they are? So that does worry me a bit. And then for the recommendation 3, the active military families, I think the listening session that I was at, someone was in a military family, and just talking through, like, these children go through so many changes as it is, as far as like the number of moves and the communities they go to, the number of schools. And so I thought it was a reasonable ask of them to consider active military families to also grandfather them. Because again, I think those kids, it's like, if we can, why make them change another school if we don't have to? So I agree with all 3 of the recommendations. Again, hesitant on the grandfathering for 5th and 6th, but I've asked the questions on class sizes already on what that would look like for Prairie Queen. It doesn't sound like we would be worried about it. But I appreciate all the information along this long journey that you discussed at the beginning, keeping us updated. Obviously, Dr. Rickley and the staff going through. And I mean, I think what people will get from this presentation is all the thought that went into it, right? This isn't something that was just put together and say, okay, we need to make boundaries. The amount of thought and consideration that's put into these decisions is great, and I hope the community takes, even if we go with an option that maybe someone would have preferred, we would have went the other way, I hope they can see that the amount of work and effort and considerations that we put in was in the best interest of the community as a whole and coming to these conclusions. So thanks again for the information, and I do agree with the recommendations.
And one thing that I forgot to mention about that active military family grandfathering and my data table, it very intentionally just says students of military families. The numbers for that data come from student verification. And in student verification, we just ask a yes or no if a family is military affiliated. So that number could potentially be smaller than what I shared with you, because that it would include like Army Reserves and things like that. So I forgot to mention that and wanted to make sure that I did.
I appreciate the efforts that have already been taken to address parent concerns regarding childcare, regarding transportation. It sounds like you've already, made sure that those things are going to be in place for families, so I appreciate that. I'll be real honest, I've waffled between recommendation 1 and 2 and still, am not 100% sure. I'm very comfortable with both options, I guess is how I feel. It looks to me like concept 2 is probably one that focuses more on the long-range plan, and it's getting kids all the way through in a format where they're through with their friends a longer period of time, whereas option 1 or concept 1 maybe is focused on today or this upcoming year. So I think they're both very good options, and I am comfortable with concept 2. I'm very much in favor of approving grandfathering for 5th and 6th graders. I do think that that is an important move for those kids and families, and also allowing them to have the option, if they choose, to go to the new or the other building. And I think since we've recently gone through the work of ensuring that all of our buildings are Purple Star, the focus of that is making sure that we're meeting the needs of our military families, and recommendation 3 does that.
Yeah, no, the data's been great. I'm glad we partnered with KSP again, just to, though it doesn't feel like it's been that many years since we had our last enrollment study, it had been. So to get fresh data is always important, especially in a developing area of our district. Like a lot, when we initially saw these first 2 concepts, it was like, oh, okay, they balance out. Which is the intent, to relieve the pressure on Prairie Queen and kind of even out both schools, not having one at capacity and one at below capacity, or significantly below capacity. And so I know I was a big proponent of, it was real simple in my head. We had natural boundaries with Lincoln Road and 114th Street. But upon seeing, again, the new data, I definitely agree with the, shifting some of that boundary now a little bit further back to the east in order to really truly balance things out. I mean, I can hear arguments for either concept, similar to Ms. Wood. Concept 2 definitely. I kind of agree with the longer-term vision. I think as we continue to split schools, that's where we tend to get the most requests for in-district transfers, causing additional paperwork and, somewhat heartache when they get to 8th grade and then they request for that transfer to stay with their friends to go to South, or vice versa. And, whether or not it's approved or not, is a big deal in a family's life at that point. So, having it where hey, I'm going to be with these kids throughout, and not having to, rely on in-district transfers, I think is pretty important. Recommendation 2, having gone through significant boundary changes when we opened Ashbury, I think the grandfathering was really important. Giving those students the option to either finish out, maybe where they've started or they moved into at a younger grade, or the option of being part of the first class in a brand new building. And it seems to kind of balance out. There's those that really, want to stay, and then there's the ones that, wow, it's 3 blocks from my house, and I would rather just go up the street and be a part of something new. So I didn't really see any significant, overcrowding by allowing those type of numbers to have the opportunity to stay. And recommendation 3, I'm glad that point came up. I unfortunately wasn't able to attend the listening sessions, but having the information provided, giving the fairly low number of those impacted, and the fact that, we have put such an emphasis now on, our partnership with Offutt Air Force Base and our Purple Star designations. I mean, to me, that kind of makes sense. And again, it's gives them the opportunity to at least have that decision to stay or to move on. So definitely looking to have some conversations with those. I know a lot of folks in the impacted areas over in that region of the district. So to gather some more feedback, to potentially have a few more questions before we get around to potentially voting to set these boundaries. Looking forward to those additional discussions.
So I guess I agree with all comments said thus far. My only deviation, I guess, is on the grandfathering. I'm sympathetic to, if we allow grandfathering for 5th and 6th, to allow the siblings as well. So otherwise, it's great.
Thank you, everyone. First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Villarreal for a great presentation. I know you've worked very hard on gathering the data and answering our questions, and we've thrown a few at you that were outside of what you started with, so thank you for doing that. The parents who came to the forums, I went to all 3 of them. They had some very they were small but mighty group. They had some real influential comments that they made that helped me guide the decisions that I'm thinking about. And particularly our military father who was there, he made it compelling. We had just finished a Purple Star presentation, and I'm like, this is what we do. We support our families and do the best that we can. So I agree with, I've always liked concept 2, mostly because of the long-term balancing it does. I just think it has a better long-term, and that's what I'm thinking of. This has to last us a while. It's not a short-term issue. So for all those reasons that everyone has mentioned, I'm a concept 2 person. You have anything else, Doctor?
Just wanted to thank Dr. Villarreal and Brett for leading what I consider a really clean process. These are among the most difficult decisions that a Board of Education is called to make. This is the 5th one that we've done in my tenure here. Prairie Queen, Ashbury, Liberty Middle School, high school readjustment, and this would be number 5. This has been by far the most clean. So outstanding leadership from both board and Christopher and Brett. The one thing that we really haven't really touched on, but we talked about it briefly to set the stage at the 3 listening sessions, was the growing disparity in enrollment between our 2 high schools. The issue at hand that doesn't seemingly have anything to do with building a new elementary school, but it most certainly does. One of the things that this board is acutely aware of is we have one of our high schools, Papillion-La Vista South, that is growing at a more rapid rate than Papillion-La Vista High School. We will open our doors next fall with about a differential of 180 students, give or take, tightened to the good on the larger side. We're not going to allow one of our high schools to grow and one to stagnate. We're not going to allow one of our high schools to have a high poverty rate and another to have a very low poverty rate. We're not going to have one of our schools become the haves and the other school become the have-nots. That's not what we're in the business of doing, and I'm very confident as long as this board is seated, they will not allow that to happen. So please know that that is an issue very much at the forefront of this board and administration. we went into this process specifically saying this is only about the new elementary school. We'll tackle some of the other boundary questions, including the high school, at a later date, probably as early as this summer if I were to make a recommendation. So again, just want to thank the board for really thoughtful process and Christopher and Brett for their leadership.
Any further discussion on this topic? Thank you. Our next topic is the superintendent's year-end performance goals update. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Ms. Witt, members of the board. So this is a conversation we have at least 2 to 3 times every single school year, just to refresh the board and the community's memory. The way the process works is a Board of Education is required to evaluate a first-year superintendent twice, and a superintendent in his or her second and third and fourth and subsequent years once a year. As a matter of practice, this board evaluates me, or at least we have an evaluation conversation, at minimum twice a year. So typically what happens is we form the goals collectively late summer, typically July, August, when we go through our board retreat. We revisit those goals at the midway point in the school year, typically around December, and then the superintendent provides some type of a summary report, typically in May and June, which is the purpose of tonight's discussion. I certainly won't go through it line by line, but I'd be happy to see what questions the board may have. But what I've done is revisited the 5 goals, and I'll read them into the record just so that the community has them in case you don't have a board packet. Goal number 1 for the 25-26 school year, 24-25 school year, restart the district strategic plan. 2, develop communication engagement plan for district families. 3, implement enhanced curriculum instruction and technology. 4, expand district staff recruitment and retention strategies, and 5, implement a plan for bond facility projects. Underneath each of those 5 goals, there are a number of indicators, and then what I have laid out in front of the board, that if those of you who are watching at home may not be aware, is we've given examples of the progress made in each of those goal areas and indicators. The first update you'll see is in December, and then the highlighted in red shows the progress since December. So there are still a handful of things under each of the 5 goals that we'll be putting some finishing touches on. And frankly, some of the goals will never be accomplished. We'll never get to a point where we will say we are done there. Some of the goals clearly have very clear endpoints. There will be a time when the bond projects from 2023 are completed. I doubt we ever get to a point in the area of mental health where we say we've accomplished what we need to accomplish with mental health. It's going to be an ongoing thing. So very proud of the progress that the team has made. There is not a single item on this list, ladies and gentlemen, that I could point to and say, Andy did that. That just doesn't exist. We make progress because we have an outstanding team that are working really hard behind the scenes to make things better for our community, our families, and our kids. So I'd happily answer any questions about the indicators or progress or maybe things yet undone. Otherwise, again, just want to thank the team for their efforts and thank the board for their support during the process.
I appreciate the updates, going through and reading them all. I do have a handful of questions on two for the developed communication and engagement strategies for district staff and residents. The 2 I had, as we are completing some of the different bond projects, one of those is the continue the bond communication plans, including the bond squad series. What are we doing for those updates when the projects are finishing up?
Yeah, I would invite Dr. Villarreal to provide some updates on this as well. So one of the things that has kind of morphed over the last couple of years, one of the things we wanted to do at a minimum was provide signage at our buildings. And I'm sure you've seen that at our buildings under construction. Your bond dollars at work, and we referenced the 2023 bond passage, of course. I think that's important, and I think that's consistent with what you see with other government subdivisions, your highway dollars at work, your construction dollars at work. So I think that's a really great way of communicating with the families. Specific to the bond squad, I think that strategy's changed a little bit. It's morphed a little bit as we transition from one communications director to the next. But Dr. V, can I put you on the spot a little bit with that one?
Yeah, so with the bond squad, we actually haven't used the bond squad since I started working here. And it's not that it wasn't a successful opportunity for us to promote the bond. It's just not been one of our priorities, but we are promoting the bond progress in different ways, primarily, we are making sure, we work very closely with Mr. Richards and his team to make sure that we know when development is happening on all of the projects. And so if you go back and check, you'll see that we have pretty robust social media posts for progress on all of the projects. We find out when construction is starting, when new classrooms are opening, and we go out and cover those just internally with our team and not necessarily the Bond Squad students. The challenge there was scheduling, because we don't have Bond Squad students at all of the construction sites anymore. They were initially aligned with our previous bond, and we didn't change that when we brought on new Bond Squad students. So I love the concept. It's not something that we've been doing. And then we also have a bond section on our website that we keep updated as progress continues across all projects.
Okay, I think that makes sense. I appreciate the update. And then I would say this one is probably also for you. Evaluate the effectiveness of the annual district staff and parent surveys to determine revisions. We're at the time of year that we've historically done both parent and staff surveys. Where are we? Is that still in the works for these last couple weeks, or what was our game plan there?
So one of the things, and we did communicate this out to families and staff through our staff newsletter and through our family newsletter, we are not doing the typical end-of-year surveys this year. We did an audit. As a board, you know that we've been working on this, figuring out what our best methodology is going to be for collecting input and feedback from our community and from our staff. And as part of that exploration, we did an audit of all of the surveys that we send out to our families and to our staff members from all of our schools. And the number there was way higher than I was expecting it to be. And I didn't look it up just before this, so I can't tell you the actual number, but it averaged out to be about a survey a month that's going out to our staff and or our families. And so we really want to take a closer look at some of the things that we had talked about before, where we're being more intentional with those surveys and we're being more timely with those surveys. So at the end of this year, we are doing a staff reflection survey, which is technically 3 items, but one of the items has several sub-items under it. That will go out on Wednesday of this week and be open till our staff is off contract at the end of the month. So we'll still collect some data in that way to help inform some of our decision making. But one of the things that we shared with staff and families is that at the beginning of the school year next year, we're going to be issuing a survey for the strategic planning process and helping to guide that process and help us identify some of the tasks that we want to do under the new strategic plan. And we felt like that would be more timely and more actionable than our typical end-of-year survey. So we have that coming in the fall.
So a shorter, less comprehensive survey this spring that'll hopefully link back to some of those key questions that we would have asked in a more typical year, followed up by a strategic planning survey that will hopefully inform what Ms. Siri is going to be doing with strategic planning later this summer.
Okay.
And staff only this spring.
Staff only.
And will that be shared like it has been historically?
Yeah, typically what we've done, I think all the board has been around for at least one of these. Typically what we've done is every fall is we've given the district level results of both the parent and the staff. So I'm assuming we would replicate that for those 3 items that Dr. Villarreal just mentioned, but also for the strategic planning survey. Now, whether that would be the same board report or something different, I think that's really up for the board to decide, but I would assume we would share both data sets.
And one of the things, I've been working really closely with Dr. Settles on the staff reflection survey for the end of the year. And so I would, with one of our efforts being the timeliness of results, I would imagine that you all will hear the results of that survey much sooner than our typical timeline where we issue it in the spring and you don't hear that report until September or October. And in that September, October presentation space, you should expect to hear the results from that strategic planning survey.
Can I sneak in here before you go on? While we're talking surveys, I know that typically the administrators have completed an evaluation of Dr. Rickley that we use when we do, and it says May 5th they were given that. Is that the same as what they've been given in the past, or was that changed at all?
I worked with Ms. Baranko on that one. It's the same as what they've been given in the past, those 10 items.
Thank you for that, Ms. Wood. one noteworthy point with that is after we had some questions about concerns about two of the questions, my visibility and then this notion of how well we collaborate as a school district. I think I put in one of the paragraphs, we did bring in an outside facilitator so that it was confidential and it was done in good faith and led the administrative team. I wasn't part of that, cabinet wasn't part of that, and we dug a little deeper. And at the end of the day, we decided that the 10 questions that we had traditionally asked, we would continue to ask. So I think that survey is still out, Ms. Baranko, is that, or did it did close?
On
So
Friday.
I closed on Friday, there you go. Outstanding, outstanding. Hopefully that works then.
All right. Thanks for the updates and sorry for putting you on the spot multiple times.
Any other questions about Dr. Rickley's goals? Thank you. Next item is Policy 4000 Series on Personnel. Dr. Settles.
Yes, thank you so much. The 4000 series is a pretty big one, so we've taken some time over this past month to go through. We do have some recommendations for you on policies for several of those items. You have those redlined in your packet, but I'm not sure if you've had a chance to look at it significantly yet at this point. There's quite a few of those that are very, very minor changes, and there's a couple that we've utilized KSB language instead, but don't have a huge change in practices either. So if you have had a chance and have any questions, I'll entertain those right now. I also will be available, of course, for this next month we've got a little bit of time here before the next meeting when we'll bring those back to you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Dr. Settles on Policy 4000? Our next is Policy Review for the 5000 Series. Dr. Settles.
Yep. In the month of May, the Board Policy 5000 is due for the annual review. We will bring some recommendations to you on this, certainly. There are still a few things that we're watching in the legislature, too, that could result in some changes. But we wanted to make you aware those are open right now to be able to take a look at. Please send a note to myself or Dr. Myers or Dr. Steele if you have anything with the students that you are taking a look at in Policy 5000.
And this is where, for the recently passed legislation on student technology devices, like the cell phones, smartwatches and stuff, this would fall under the Policy 5000, that we'd have to probably make some revisions to existing policy because of the new state law.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the audio visual is in the 5,000s, but the 6,000 is technology usage too. So it will be one of, probably both, to be
Okay.
honest.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we've reached the end of our agenda. Our last item is the board calendar. We have May 15th, the ideal commencement, 6 p.m. at Papillion La Vista South High School. May 19th, the Papillion La Vista Foundation Board meeting at 6 p.m. here at the central office. May 23rd is the last day of school. I can't believe it's so fast. May 26th, I'm sorry, I said May 23rd. May 26th, the holiday is Memorial Day holiday, and the offices will be closed. May 27th is a staff development day. That was the calendar switch because of their snow day. And on June 9th is our next Board of Education meeting at 6 p.m. And before we leave, can we all stand and say goodbye to Kathy? This is her last meeting with the Board of Education. And I know it's not her last day in the district, but it is her last meeting with us as a board.
Well,
And-
she told me she's coming
Is she?
June 9th for public comments
Oh,
for items
oh,
not on the agenda. Yeah, so that's
That'd
what
be
she's gonna
great.
start. Yep, she's gonna keep coming.
Thank you. With that, we'll close the board meeting at 7:23.